What's up, Lego Builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for episode 6 of A Man and His Bricks. I am super excited for this episode. I can barely contain my emotions because this is the final episode of the year, 2021. And so in this episode, I'm going to be going back through the year and kind of doing a recap, wrapping up the whole year, talking about things I've learned, how I've changed, things I've done, good things, bad things that have happened. Basically, just reminiscing about this past year. And those who know me pretty well know that I love to do that kind of stuff. I love to talk about things that I've learned, ways I've changed, people have changed, things have changed. I just love progression, failure, success, all of that good stuff. I also have some great questions from you guys, maybe some of the best I've ever had this year, as well as discussing a potential new segment that will be coming to the podcast in 2022. All that being said, I got some great stuff to talk about, so let's roll that intro. I am still a little bit sick. I've been fighting off something for a while now, so if I sound a little weird, sorry about that. My throat and my nose are still a little bit congested. So the first segment of my podcast is Life of an AFL. That's kind of where I go through and talk about what's been happening the past month or so, or however long it's been since my last upload, and just kind of discuss my Lego life behind the scenes. This time, however, I'm going to be doing things a little bit different, and I'm going to be recapping the entire year. It's not going to be super long. I'm just going to hit some of the high points, low points, kind of some of the bigger things I learned. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is something, that really came out of nowhere and kind of surprised me this year. And that is kind of my feelings on collecting Lego sets, being a Lego collector. And I kind of think I'm nearing the end of that portion or period of my life. Obviously, I'm always going to be buying Lego sets. Like, I'm never not going to buy Lego sets. But for most of my YouTube career, I've been pretty steadily bringing in new sets and adding to the collection. And it kind of just started to taper off this year, to be honest. I think kind of what happened is, as I got more into building larger mocks, I realized that's truly what gets me excited and truly what gets me happy about Lego and YouTube and the channel and stuff. Instead of just buying sets and then setting them on my shelf or reviewing them or whatever, I can get so much more excitement and use out of building mocks with bricks and stuff than just buying something and then watching it gather dust. And I think another reason is I kind of just collected a lot of the sets I wanted. There were so many sets that I wanted as a kid growing up that I wasn't able to get, and I've kind of got a lot of those now. To this point, there are really only a few left that I really want to get. There are some sealed versions that I want to collect as well. So I think once I get those, probably going to definitely tap the brakes on collecting, especially because a lot of the newer play sets that I see coming out, I'm not really interested in, which, makes me excited because that'll free up a lot more resources to putting out better mocks for you guys. I also want to get more into building custom vehicles from other people. I've got the UCS scaled ATTE behind me. We got this Vulture Droid custom acclimator on the other side that was designed and built by me. I like those kinds of things. Those things to me are a little bit more display worthy than some of Lego's playsets. So that's kind of where I'm coming from in that whole aspect. You still will be seeing, the occasional haul. I'll always be picking up stuff, but definitely not like it used to be. So in order for me to kind of, coherently and efficiently wrap up this entire year, I picked 5 things that I learned that I wanted to share with you guys. First thing, and these aren't going to be in order of, least to most important. It'll just be 5 things. First thing, I kind of already knew this, but really, I think it kind of helped. It really cemented itself this year and probably continue to do so, is content is king. There's all kinds of cool editing tricks you can do, lighting, just a whole multitude of things you can do to make your videos look better. But the heart of it, the reason people are clicking is for the video itself, the content. This is something I've battled with a lot since starting my YouTube channel because I'm a hardcore perfectionist. So even, the smallest thing would get at me if I noticed there was a shadow here, or my lighting was off, or the mic, the audio didn't sound great, and there's things that would really drive me crazy. And this year I've really tried to just focus on just knowing that, I'm putting out a good, interesting video. People are excited to see what's in that video, and I need to not be so frustrated and stressed out about the little things. Obviously, those things are important, especially when taking your channel to different levels. But at the heart of it, don't forget that what's important is that you're putting out an entertaining video that people enjoy. An example I want to use to illustrate my point is my second channel, Coconuts Kingdom, that I started this year. That channel has, I think, only 6 videos, and there's very minimal editing going into those videos. I don't even really have intros and outros to like my mock building series with my castle, but the videos pull in great views. I think most of the episodes have over 1,000 views, which is crazy considering I have 475 subscribers. Obviously, I know a lot of that is because I've been sharing that on my main channel, which has thousands of subscribers. And so, I get some views that I wouldn't have gotten if I was just uploading, but I feel like the videos themselves still do pretty well on their own. And that's a big testament to just, people just want to see the castle mock. They're there to see me build. And so probably as time goes on, they might get a little bit fancier. I might put a little bit more effort, but it's just nice to see that I don't have to just exhaust myself putting out these top tier videos in order to do well on YouTube. The second thing I've learned is you can't have the downhills in life without the uphill battle. And so when I published Utapau on my YouTube channel, that's really when things started to explode for me. I got a huge bump in revenue, views, subscribers. I think I gained probably close to 10,000 subscribers from Utapau, not just the finale, but like the updates, the exposure and the publicity I got from it afterwards, and just how well that video's been doing. It's coming up on 500,000 views, which is incredible. So huge thank you to you guys for helping make that a possibility. So I was riding high, and then I started to come down, and I came down pretty hard, obviously. You can't keep up those kinds of numbers and revenue forever. And I got pretty down on myself, pretty frustrated, just trying to push out as much content as I could. And over the course of the next few months of publishing videos and more finales, I realized YouTube is a game of hills, right? You work hard, you put out these good videos, you have this spike in everything, and then you kind of drop back down, normalize, start to put out your more everyday, run-of-the-mill content, try and keep things steady until your next bump, and then your next bump. And so this has helped me not be so frustrated when I see views going down, subscribers, watch time, revenue, because I know I'm building up to another hill. And really what you're trying to do is make that hill bigger and bigger each time, right? So that you go higher and higher and higher. And that's how you grow, right? That's called growth. Growing up instead of down. So as each one gets bigger and bigger, you're improving. So it's not about, every single video being the most successful video you've ever put out. If some of your videos, most of them, are in the middle range, 3, 4, 5 out of 10, that's okay. That's just, sustaining the growth that you previously attained. And I'm really excited with this new mindset going into the new year, because honestly, I was kind of close to quitting YouTube towards the end of this year just because I was so frustrated with what felt like a big lack of success to me, until I realized, that success will come. In the meantime, it's important to maintain what you have previously achieved while working towards that next big jump. Number 3 is consistency does not mean frequency. What I mean by that is when I started my YouTube channel, one of my biggest goals was to be consistent. I saw a lot of channels out there, that would leave for months, years, come back, leave. Mock building updates were coming in frequently, and that's okay. You got to do what you got to do to make sure that you are maintaining a healthy lifestyle for yourself. But I really wanted to make sure I tried to be as consistent as possible. And for a while, consistency meant like, okay, every single week, just go as many videos as you can. And recently I've realized consistency is about your audience knowing when to expect a video. And so I've really tried to just hammer in like, okay, I've got my Sunday mock building video, which is kind of my main video on the channel. I've got my Thursday mock building video. I've got a couple of streams in here. Every so often I'll have a Tuesday or a Wednesday video sprinkled in there, some kind of humor video or a haul video. And this really helped me relax on my content schedule. And I dropped from uploading about 5 times a week to 2 to 3 times a week. And it's been so nice. I've been able to put out much higher quality videos. I've been much happier with the videos. I've just been more happy in general because I realized people aren't expecting a video every other day from me. As long as I kind of set a schedule for myself and keep that's consistency. That's what will help you grow on YouTube. Now, number 5, the last one. This one, it might be a little bit difficult to explain or to put into practice, but I think it's very important. And that is, do what hasn't been done before. That sounds very generic. Looks like something you would see on some cliche, motivational page on Instagram or something. But what I mean by that is really look and see like what your niche is on YouTube, see what's being done, and try and find things that haven't been done before. And what I mean by a couple of examples to illustrate my point are my mocks. People often wonder like what goes into picking a mock. How do you choose? One of the things I choose is like what is something people haven't seen before? What's going to create a spectacle? That's where Utpal came from. Naboo, Kato Nemoidia, just because, these things had never been done on that scale or that size, or really been done at all before. And so I wanted to, spike people's interest, captivate people with something that hasn't been done. And this doesn't necessarily mean this doesn't necessarily mean you have to build some giant creation. Even if it's formatting your videos in a way that's never been seen before, you don't have to be creating the biggest or best thing. Just try and look and see what's been done and see like, okay, how can I differentiate my content from all of this? Another thing I've really been trying to do is start putting out more humor videos. I don't see a ton of really high quality humor content in the Lego community, and that's something I've really tried to tap into and improve on. My early videos were not great, but I feel like some of the more recent ones have actually been pretty good. And that's definitely something you're going to see more of on my channel, is me trying to integrate humor more into my Lego videos. So those were 5 things that I learned this year that I wanted to share with you guys. I hope some of those are helpful to you guys in some way. If you're watching and you have something that you learned this year, I would love for you to share it down below in the comments. I love seeing what other people have learned, what other people have improved on, other people have tried and failed at and changed. So that wraps up Life of an AFL segment number 1. And now segment number 2, maybe my favorite segment of the podcast, It's Hard, is my Q&A segment, which I still haven't found a name for. For those of you guys who are new to the podcast watching for the first time, my Q&A sessions are always themed. So each podcast, I give out a theme for the next one, and I have people leave questions down below based off of that theme, and then the next podcast I answer them. So if you're watching this, don't forget to have a question ready for next episode. I will be giving you guys the theme for that at the end of this segment. So the first question comes from The Brick Room. He says, Fire Podcast, how do you in general plan videos for your YouTube channel? So my process for, planning out a YouTube video is at the beginning of each month, I have a planning session with myself where I go through, write out my schedule, write out where I'm going to be uploading, what I'm going to be uploading. And then I have a little section down in the corner where I write video ideas. And this isn't necessarily a full-on video, but just something that I think would make for a cool video somehow. So like, some kind of Lego humor with large mocks, or Lego pets or something, or maybe some kind of tutorial video I want to do, and I just write that down there. That way I have that idea stored away and I don't forget about it. And then after that I go through and I figure out, okay, which one of these ideas do I want to go for next? And then I kind of flesh out the idea for there. So like take, for example, my Lego pets idea. I kind of had a few different things I was going to do. And then I decided, okay, what about if I did like, if people treated their Lego sets like pets? And I fleshed that out. I was like, okay, I want to do different scenes of Lego sets acting like pets and me interacting with them like I'm their owner. And once I kind of have like a more fleshed out video idea, from there I'll go through and script out the video. I'll write an outline. So I wrote like, okay, I want to do this trick, I want to do this scene, this scene, this scene, and then I'll script that out of like, okay, what am I going to say in each one of those scenes? How am I going to be filming? How do I want Mrs. Coconut to hold the camera? What's the lighting going to look like? Just, like little random things, basically setting up the scenes. And then from there, I go into my filming prep where I get my camera ready, get the lighting set up, make sure I'm dressed appropriately, make sure my area that I'm filming in is clean. So that's basically kind of how I go through planning those videos. Mock building videos have a little bit less of an extensive plan just because it's basically just documenting the building that I did that week. Those I more plan on like, okay, I'm going to film my haul this day because I have a package coming in here. So I'll want to do a time lapse maybe the day after that with those new parts. Try and plan like, okay, time lapse this day. I have a stream the day after that. So maybe I'll do my wrap up video here. So that's just kind of more of like outlining when I'm going to be doing what building. That one gets a little tough too because I'm currently working on 3 mocks. So I have a pretty tight schedule of like what I'm going to be doing for what mock each day. Next up is from my man SW Bricks and Figs. He says, question, which is your favorite and least favorite part of the video making process? From planning to filming to editing to titles and thumbnails, etc. So my favorite is my favorite. One of my favorite aspects is probably the setting up and filming of the videos. I really love to film. I love videography. I love cinematic shots and stuff like that. So anything to do with that kind of prep, like putting up my lights, getting my camera slider all ready, kind of trying to figure out what kind of angle I want to come in at, what a good shot will look like, setting up, good shots for photos and stuff like that. And then going in and filming, adjusting the light, moving the camera here, getting different shots set up. I love that whole aspect. It's almost like you're building, it's like you're building with Legos, but you're building a video. And then it's kind of cool to see, just see the video start to come together as I set up the different shots and do the filming. My least favorite part is probably editing and thumbnails, because the editing can be pretty tedious sometimes. I have kind of a slow laptop, so it can be an absolute nightmare trying to get a good coherent video spliced together. I'm not super great with my words. I tend to stutter and stumble, and sometimes I have trouble portraying my thoughts or kind of like explaining myself. So I have to do a lot of cutting out, a lot of adjusting, which can get really frustrating. I say thumbnails not because I don't enjoy doing them, but because of how stressful and frustrating they are for me. I feel like I don't, up until recently, I haven't had the best thumbnails, just because I couldn't figure out like what a good thumbnail was. I've done a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, looking at other channels, and I feel like I've gotten better at that. So I'm actually starting to enjoy them a little bit more, just because, the thumbnail is super important. You can have a really good video, but if you don't put out a quality thumbnail, your video suffers. And so that can be really stressful for me. And so that kind of takes away from, wanting to do the thumbnail. Okay, next question comes from my buddy StarMax. He says, so my question for the next episode will be connected to what you were talking about today. What do you think there is still a place for high quality Lego videos done 1 to 3 times per month? Or is it not worth it due to it being not as effective as it was before, when with today's standard YouTube algorithm is supporting consistent uploading? This was a deep question and a really good question. This is really important. Like, if you want to grow on YouTube, this is something you're going to have to think about. And my opinion and answer to that is, unfortunately, not really. I don't feel like there is as much of a place for that anymore, just because YouTube isn't what it was years ago, when it was just like, you came onto the platform and you just watched videos, looked up, Lego clone bases. That they have been working on their algorithm so much that it's just so focused on getting you the most content it can and the best content it can. So it's looking for people who are uploading a lot, people who are uploading, good, interesting, entertaining videos that do well. So I feel like if you're only uploading 1 to 3 times a month, you're going to get lost in the crowd, because there's so many good, high quality videos out there. So you really need to compete. You really have to compete with others to be able to get your videos out there and show the algorithm, like, I upload a lot consistently, so you can give my content out to others. That being said, I do think there are channels out there who are still able to accomplish it. It's just much more difficult. One of them is Mark Rober. I don't know if you guys watch him. I don't really watch his videos, but I am impressed with like how he goes about doing them. He only uploads about maybe once a month. So, only about 12 videos a year, but his videos absolutely kill it, because he has a full-on production. This is like a full-on mini movie. And so he takes you from start to finish of some kind of like DIY cool project that he wanted to do, or that people suggested he do. And he gets, really extensive, all kinds of great footage, spending lots of money on all kinds of crazy gear and equipment. And so, I feel like those people are waiting for that. People are anticipating it. And so when he puts it out, YouTube knows, oh, these videos always do really well. Lots of people are searching for his videos, his channel. And so he gets recommended a lot, even though he doesn't upload as frequently as pretty much everybody else. Another person is Lion Bricks, a Lego builder. He doesn't upload super frequently, but his updates are super high quality. Just great B-roll, great footage. I feel like his videos are so entertaining that they leave a mark in people's brain. Like, for myself personally, I was like, oh man, I need to remember, like, okay, I got to go back and check to see if he has more. So if you can create a lasting impression on people, you won't have to rely on YouTube recommending your stuff as much, because people will be thinking about you and your channel. So, it is a lot tougher now, but I think it still can be done if you find people who are doing it and see how exactly they're going about it, and then try and mimicking that with your own channel. Next question comes from Michigan Bricks. He says, what kind of videos spark your imagination / give you ideas for using your own videos and mocks? So for mocks, what I use for inspiration is obviously, Star Wars battles and stuff, but I work outside. So I keep an eye out for cool little geological features, cool looking things, and I try and picture like, okay, if I blew that up and made it super big, what kind of a mock would that look like? And so I actually take a lot of inspiration from just day-to-day stuff, beautiful landscapes, ways, gravels piled up, grassy patches, just kind of, and I try and tell a story with what I'm looking at. And from that story, sometimes I can flesh out kind of a cool mock idea. Like, oh, look, there's like this large patch of grass with a giant puddle over here and then like rocks over here. It almost looks like this mini little forest coming out onto like plains or a lake or something like that. And then as far as like video ideas go, I get a lot of inspiration just from other YouTube channels, a lot of you guys watching your stuff and thinking like, okay, what could I do that's kind of like along those lines? Because, you want to be watching other people and see what kind of content does well. And then obviously don't just copy their video, but try and put your own twist onto it. So I do that a lot. I also take a lot of inspiration from just like other comedy channels. That's one thing I've tried to improve with my channel. So watching other people like Gus Johnson gives me an idea of like, okay, this is how I act. This is kind of the kind of character I want to portray. This was a cool video idea if I took it and incorporated it into the Lego community. And I also just try and come up with funny characters that I think would make for a good video. Like, the 5 stages of mock building. I just kind of took from my own experience and kind of like the stereotypical mock builder and tried to put that into a video and create a character out of it. So those are kind of some of the ways that I draw inspiration. Okay, the last question comes from my boy Jackson Siege, not sure how to pronounce it, but he says, question, what methods or techniques do you use to help minimize click-through rates on your videos or to keep people watching and interested? So this is a pretty good question. I like this question. This is a deep analytical question. So the first part, how do I minimize click-through? The best way I try is creating a compelling thumbnail and title, right? Click-through rate is like how many people are seeing your thumbnail and video versus how many of those people are actually clicking through to watch it. And so the important thing about a thumbnail and a title is they need to be connected, but not the same exact thing. So you don't want to just take your title, replace it into your video. You want to try and tell a story in that thumbnail that's portraying what's in the title. Kind of to illustrate, example I can think of is my last haul video I did with the UCS AT-AT. The title of the video is Oops, I Did It Again, Epic Lego Star Wars Haul. I wanted to try and create an emotion and story here. Like, oh shoot, apparently he made a big mistake because, it's an epic Lego Star Wars haul. And then, oops, I did it again. I was playing off of a video I put out last year where I bought a giant UCS Star Destroyer and it was a whole, big fiasco. And so I wanted to play off that and kind of draw people into like some kind of disaster, some kind of train wreck that you want to see. And so to play off of that in the thumbnail, I have this huge box in the center of the picture. Then I've got me on one hand with like my hands on my head, Mrs. Coconut's on the other side with like, her face in her hands, just kind of creating this this image of like what happened, what's going on. So kind of you have those two facets of like, okay, there's a big Lego Star Wars haul, we got the big box, then you've got the two freaking out people, like something crazy happened, I want to see what's going on here. And so then, go ahead and click on the video. Because I could have just titled it, I bought the UCS Star AT-AT, but I don't want to give too much of the video away. I want to try and create some kind of story that you need to finish by clicking on the video. So once people are in the video, kind of like how do I try and keep retention high? The way I do it is I try and create some kind of hook. I put a lot of skits in the beginning of my videos just to try and keep people interested and, kind of, warm people up with my personality and who I am. So like, oh, I want to see more of this guy and what he does. And so once, I got that hook, got people hooked and interested in the video, I really try and keep things concise. I don't like to ramble. I try not to make my videos a certain length just so that they're a certain length. If a video comes out to, 5 or 6 minutes, I'm like, okay, 5 or 6 minute video. I'm not going to try and drag out this AT-AT haul into a 10-minute video or try and drag things out or ramble, because I have seen a lot of YouTube channels where it's like the first 3 minutes of the video I'm just like, oh, here's my sponsor, buy my merch, here's, this stupid thing that I want to talk about. I really try and keep things concise and really get into the video and not bore people or waste people's time. That's one thing I've been trying to do with my intros and outros on my mock building updates, is not ramble. Sometimes I feel like I have to take up a certain amount of time in those. And sometimes if they're shorter than others, that's fine. Like I'm trying to be better at like, okay, I don't have a lot to say. Let's just get into the build. You know what I mean? And not worry so much like, oh, these videos are just all so short. So those are a couple of things I try to do to help with those. Great questions, guys. I loved these questions. I don't know if it's just because I haven't done it in a while, but this might have been one of my favorite question segments to date. So the theme for next episode, because it's going to be in January, hopefully, so the beginning of the year, starting afresh, new things, is going to be the new year and starting new things. So any kind of questions to goals, starting a channel, starting new things, how I go about goal setting, setting a vision, anything like that, anything to do with starting and new beginnings. So that wraps up my Q&A segment, and time for the final segment, which is usually YouTubing on a budget, but I think I've come to the end of that segment. Just because over this past few years, I've pretty much gone through everything that I've bought that's like budget friendly, because now I'm starting to get into more high end equipment now that I'm really trying to invest more into improving the production of my channel, of my YouTube videos. And I don't really want to, that might not be as interesting just because there will be less and less people who can buy those kinds of things or who are interested in investing that much money in that kind of equipment. So I'm going to be starting a new segment this next year, and I want to get your guys' feedback on ideas on what I should do. So I have a few ideas of a segment I could do. The first is called Highlight a Channel. Basically, each episode I would go and I would pick a channel that I want to highlight, and I'd kind of break down their channel, their videos, their kind of focus or theme, and talk about things I like, things they're doing well, maybe things that I would do a little bit differently or suggest tweaking. Obviously, I'm not going to go in there and just roast people's channels. Basically, just giving some feedback on them. The second would be showcasing a good investment set. If each, episode I picked a set that I was like, ooh, this is one that you guys should invest in. Either it's on sale now, or it's going to go up a lot in price, or it's retiring soon, or it's got a figure that's going to be in an upcoming TV show or movie. And then the last one would be YouTube tips, just like some kind of tip on like how to make a good thumbnail, what goes into a good title, how to plan a video, good video ideas. Basically, just one aspect of YouTube, and then just kind of breaking that down. And if you guys have any other ideas for a segment you think would be cool or you want to see, feel free to let me know down below in the comments or vote for one of those. I don't really care. I just love to see, what you guys want to see on the podcast. All that being said, that wraps up the final podcast for 2021. Honestly, it feels like it's a pretty big achievement for me. I'm really proud that I was able to keep this series from dying, because there were times where, we went months without a Man in His Bricks. And I'm really trying to revive it and get more consistent, because I feel like I went through a lot of different phases with this of like, oh, it's not doing good, I'm not into it, I don't know what to talk about on it. And I've worked through a lot of those things and kind of have a more finished product of like what I want to put out with this video. So I'm a lot more excited going into the new year, and this is definitely going to be a more consistent part of my channel moving forward. All that being said, don't forget to let me know what you thought of this podcast down below in the comments. And of course, don't forget to leave me a question for next month based on the theme, and vote for what you want to see on the next segment. I will catch you guys all next time, but until then, happy building.